listening. Welcome to the 2024 Kickstart Invitational podcast, where we dive into the heart of the Kickstart Invitational. I'm, of course, your host, Kyle Steffi, alongside Justin and Carter McPhail. In each episode, we'll be bringing in you exclusive insights, player profiles, behind-the-scenes interviews, expert analysis of the latest developments of the Kickstart Invitational. Now, before we get going, Dunham's paid us a little extra. So we're going to get the Kickstart podcast right off with our special sponsor. Carter, why don't you get that ad read rolling?
Thanks, Kyle. Just like always, this episode is brought to you by Dunham's Sports, your ultimate outdoor and sporting destination. Whether you're into hunting, fishing, or loving every day, Dunham's has everything you need. Right now, use code Kickstart24 for an exclusive 20% off on all golf gear, and accessories. Don't miss out on the fun. Visit Dunham's in-store or online at dunhamsports.com. Dunham Sports, where the great outdoors meets unbeatable savings.
Thank you, Carter, and thank you, Dunham's, for your sponsorship. First of all, Carter and Justin McPhail, how are you guys doing this evening?
Doing
good,
great,
thank you.
Kyle.
Love it.
Thanks for
Love
having
it.
us on.
Absolutely. So our special guest today, obviously, you see him on the screen. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed over in Maine right now, looking good. Former Ferris State Bulldog, Utica Pioneer, Kalamazoo K-Wing, Fayetteville Marksman, Reading Royal, Indy Fuel, and currently a Norfolk Admiral. Has visited 38 states, lived in 10 of them. 6 rounds under 100 in his golf career. 29 BFPR, which for those of you at home is balls found per round. 1,350 Fortnite hours played. Some call him Fetty, some call him Lil FishStickzz, some call him Fast Fetty. Most importantly, his mama calls him Connor Fedoric. Connor, welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. First question we ask all of our guests, especially on Player Profile Day, might be the most important question of them all. What does the Kickstart mean to you, Fetty?
The Kickstart means a lot to me, I feel like, because I've never really had golf before I went to school. And actually, Carter was one of the ones that got me into golf around my sophomore year. And I know I'm not necessarily the best golfer in the world, but it's a lot of fun to still get out there no matter what, whether you're doing well or not. And the Kickstart gives that chance to also be able to do that with a bunch of people. For me, a bunch of people I haven't met and some people that I have, but also add a competitive side to it, which I really like as well.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jay.
Do you have a specific favorite Kickstart memory? Something that last year stands out to you as your favorite part of the whole trip? We all know that the trip as a whole, all throughout the year, is important and really special to everyone. But do you have a specific moment that you look back on as your fondest memory at the Kickstart?
Yeah, I feel like there was a couple, and I feel like it was different for every guy, but always going to be that first tee off with everyone, where we're all standing there with the music going. And I was the third group to go with Carter, Tricky, and Max, so it was kind of nice seeing everyone do it, and then we got to do it last. Rather than
Yeah.
I feel like if I was the first group, I wouldn't have gotten to have that experience. So it was nice being able to do that. Obviously, the different courses I've never played before, that was big for me. I'm always going to remember those, and we're fortunate enough to do those again. So it's kind of nice to go back to some familiarity. But I would say that first day was probably the biggest thing for me.
Were you part of that practice round on the day before, the Sunday before?
I was, yes. I went up a couple
Yeah,
days
so-
early to Carter's and hung out with him for a couple days. I think we did one more round with an old teammate of ours before that, and then we went in and did the practice round. So it was nice kind of getting that down. Obviously, I have a very big slice, so that first hole is always nerve wracking with the trees on both sides and trying to get it
Yeah.
through. But we made it work, and it was good though.
Well, and it's nice to see that course first, outside of the pressure of the event, and then to see everybody else tee off and kind of get your wits about you and catch your breath a little bit and all that before you tee off for real in kind of your first real competitive golf event had to be a nice thing for you to get you going, sort of.
Yeah, it was good, and I also, because I've never really done it before, but the fact that we were all at the range, kind of doing warming up and doing that kind of aspect of everything. I've never really done that before. I've kind of just went in cold and done it. So it was a different atmosphere for me, but I really enjoyed being able to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So we got here on the screen of anybody watching on YouTube can see we've got the hard sort of some of these hard statistics. Your favorite course on the trip, Pilgrim's Run, uh, eligible for captaincy, your first time eligible for captaincy next year. Um, we know you're getting a little more time to work on your game a little bit, especially living where you do right now. You were telling us before we started recording that it's going to be mid to high 60s next week, and you found a group of guys to go out and get some rounds in. That's going to be huge, I think, for especially for somebody like yourself who's really trying to catch up on all the hours spent in golf as a whole. You got a pretty solid record for your first year, 1-2-1, able to get your team 1.5 points last year. That's pretty awesome. Singles record of 0-1. We know last year's match against Brendan really could have shook out either way. Playing with you guys, I know just a couple better bounces maybe here or there, and that's a way different outcome. But as we see, your career low round that morning at Diamond Springs, a 78, that was pretty special. Above field average in that round, which is pretty cool. And I know that you're looking to improve, and you're definitely moving in the right direction. And I'm pretty excited to have you back on the trip. For the off course stuff just as much as the on course stuff. But it's awesome to see that you're going to get a chance to get in there and work a little bit on your game. And I know that you're one of the most excited guys for the trip and to get out there and spend some time with the guys. And I'm really excited for you too. So let's kick it off, and hopefully we'll have another great season with you.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm counting down the days.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, we'll just kind of piggyback off that and go into a little bit of Connor's intangibles. Being being a guy that I would say knows Fetty, and I was kind of the one that brought him in. Obviously, Mac is close with him as well, from our time at Fair State. But Connor being new to golf and then coming up to driving over to Michigan, we played a round with Brendan Rons. I believe you played with us for that round too, Kyle, at Fenn Farms.
Yeah.
We played 18-hole scramble with our dad, Justin.
Yeah,
5-man scramble with the guys from, I believe it is Tuesday night hockey team. And then we might have played again before we even drove to GR. But I'm not sure if I remember. So he got to Michigan and it was like 18 holes, 18 holes, 18 holes. Okay, let's drive to GR, play the mines, hit the Airbnb, and then do the Kickstart. And it was like, this is a lot of golf even for me. But he was like showing up to these like kind of like warm up rounds, like I need to get dialed for the tournament. And that just kind of speaks to his competitiveness, even though he's seen as a high handicapper and a guy that's kind of trying to catch up, like we said. But like, I mean, Fetty's coming. He's going to be a dangerous guy here in year 2.
It's refreshing. It's refreshing for me to see somebody that takes it so seriously, both from a competitive standpoint and from like, somebody who's, I guess wants to be out there having a good time. Like when Fetty shows up to the course, it's not there's nothing else going on for him, right? He's not on his phone in the cart the whole time. He might get on there to play some tunes or something like that. But when Fetty shows up to the golf course, he wants to get himself dialed, and he wants to get the whole crew dialed. He's trying to get the vibes up, get his game up, have a good time, and becomes very singularly focused on the round in front of him. And that's super, super refreshing to see, especially like I'd probably take it for granted how often I get to go out there and play golf, and how often I'll be all the way out on like the 5th hole before I realize like I haven't been thinking or taking any of what I'm doing out here seriously at all, and just am like distracted by other stuff going on during, while I'm supposed to be playing golf. But when Fetty shows up to the golf course, Fetty is there for those 3 guys that he's playing with and himself, and that's it.
Yeah, and just going off that, Connor, do you remember that round we played with your brother in Pittsburgh for the first D1D summer?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and tell tell that story for the fans at home, and what it means when you hear that one song come on the speaker.
Wait, tell
It
his
was-
tell his Fortnite name too when you say his name.
Oh,
Uh,
so
yeah.
we went to this little 9-hole by my house in Pittsburgh. You can attest to it, Carter. It's not the best shape golf course, but it did what we needed to do.
Great after work 9-hole course.
And we showed up, hitting a couple. I would say first 3 holes weren't going my way, which it happens. A couple doubles, maybe a couple triples, I don't know. And then Carter and I, we start to indulge ourselves in a little beverages, and all of a sudden, Lucid Dreams by Juice WRLD comes on. And I'm pretty sure I either parred or birdied that. And you also had a great hole, Carter. And we proceeded to play Lucid Dreams by Juice WRLD on repeat for the remaining 5 or 6 holes.
The next 6 holes, we listened to one
Yeah.
song and one song only.
Yeah. And I think I had one of my best rounds of 9 there I've had ever, to be honest with you.
I'm not even kidding you. This song came on. I believe I made a birdie. Connor made a par. And on the next hole, we both parred, and we looked at each other and we're like, you can't play bad when Lucid Dreams is playing.
Yep.
And then next thing you know, I'm looking at him in the cart like this,
Mhm.
and he's looking back at me the same way. And it didn't, like, I couldn't even see the ball.
Well, you remember hole 9, right?
And we're getting there. Hold on. But I would hit it, and it would just go in the fairway. It would hit a tree, it would hit a house, and it would just go in the fairway, and then I'd hit it on the green and 2-putt, and it was like, we keep playing that song until we get to hole 9.
Yes.
And go ahead, Con, take it over.
So we're at hole 9. Carter and I are both lefties. My little brother, Greg, his Xbox name is Little Box Munch for all the guys that play Fortnite with him. And him and his friend Caleb are there, and they're both right-handed. And Carter, after looking cross-eyed at me, goes, "Hey, Bubs," because we call him Bubba sometimes, and goes, "Hey, Bubs, you want to see something cool?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." He grabs my little brother's driver, stands up with the ball as a lefty with a righty driver, flips it upside down, turns around and goes, "Watch this," and absolutely pimps it down the middle. And we were dumbfounded that this happened, and we're like, we couldn't believe it. We're like, there's no way this is real. And yeah, I think you ended up parring that hole or something.
I hit that right-handed ball like 15 yards further than the ball I had just hit with my own clubs. I think Bubs, he's even newer to golf than Fetty is.
He actually he plays a lot more than me now, especially.
But like, you could tell he was new. Like, sometimes like it would go really good, and then sometimes like it would go awry. And I
Ain't
think
nothing
that's
wrong
kind
with
of-
awry.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, awry
Ain't
is
nothing
fun.
wrong with it.
This was maybe his first summer, like really trying to like keep score. And I think what happened on 9 is he like asked me and Connor like what he was doing, and I was like, it's not that hard. I said, let me see that, I'll show you. Things got out of hand quickly. But I mean, yeah, like and those are just the stories, right? That like you're gonna get playing with Fetty. Because I mean, like me and Kyle are probably more of an older country kind of style of music on the course. Maybe some newer stuff, but like not really, probably not gonna hear a lot of Juice World coming from our cart. But you get Fetty out there and all of a sudden you get one that really pulls just some chord in the back of your mind where now it's like prime time Tiger mode out there.
It's a lot
So-
less Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs, a lot more Big Booty Mix 24, which is out today, by the way.
Oh, shout out to friends.
Shout out to friends.
No free ads.
Oh,
Unless we get a Dunham
okay.
Sports ad read soundbite in 25, we're cutting out.
Fetty, before we move on from kind of the golf portion of this, I do have one question. How many times before we showed up at Diamond Springs had you played 36 holes in a day?
I never have. That was my first time.
Yeah, so that's not an uncommon experience, Kyle. Do you have the same experience? That was the first,
very.
and I know the year prior, Michael's first time playing 30, maybe first time for him playing 36 of his own ball in a day. I know he had a like a summer membership at Boulder Point back when we were first in college, and I think he had probably played 36 in a day before, but probably never his own ball for 36 straight holes. We'll have to ask him about that when he comes on the pod, but that's not an easy thing to do for somebody that hasn't done it before or hasn't played, especially for Fetty playing so many days in a row. 36 holes in one day, and on top of that, the crazy, stop start that we had going that day had to be so tough. It reflected in Fetty's scores. In the afternoon round, he was 10 shots worse in the or 11 shots worse in the afternoon than he was in the morning. And I think it's a real difficult thing to do for somebody that hasn't played 36 holes before. And it turns into a serious grind, even for people that, play 20 rounds leading into the Kickstart. So that's a big thing. And it's something that I noticed looking at the statistics kind of in our preparation for this pod. That round kind of stands out for Fetty in a negative way, but the other 3 rounds are really, really solid. He had a net 78 in the morning, and then the next day in his singles match had an 82 that, like I said before, could have easily went the other way on Brendan. And I just wanted to get that in before we move on from the golf stuff, because 36 holes in a day is a big deal, and we kind of gloss over it when we get into preparation.
I didn't really notice at the time, but when I got my year in review from Whoop, that day we played 36 was my highest strain day of the year.
That's crazy.
Like,
all hail the Whoop.
Like literally, like, I mean, I'm going on record. This is a pro Whoop podcast. And we've never claimed to be anti Whoop, but like looking at
No
that
free ad,
scene
though.
was like, that was the hardest I worked in a day all year. And then thinking back on it, like being in the sun, grinding, eating Tim Hortons in the morning, hot
You're
dogs
up
in the
early.
afternoon,
You're going to bed late.
beers the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to ask. I want to also point out this is not a pro Whoop podcast at all. I wanted to ask Fetty, because I know Justin's got the capability of like memorizing each hole, just absolute, not only his shots, but like the 3 others in his group, what their shots were on that hole.
Good,
Whereas
yeah.
I'm like, I look back at Diamond Springs and I remember loving it. And honestly, if you showed me the course holes, I'd probably remember some of the shots, but it's mostly a blur for me. Where do you align in that in that realm, somewhere in the middle or leaning one way or the other?
Yeah, I feel like I'm more of a happy medium when it comes to that because if you ask me about a certain hole, I could tell you, but then the other maybe of the 18, the other 8 of them, I've probably been like, no, I don't really remember so much. But there's a couple that I can remember like on each one. Like obviously the round we were all standing there at the end. We have the round that we played the 2 holes twice as a group scramble versus each other. So those were easy to remember. The one where you had to drive across a little bridge to get to the one green, like it's that kind of stuff where you can kind of remember like little, I guess I wouldn't say landmarks, but you know what I mean when it comes to that, where I'm able to remember those certain things. There's the one where we had to play on a different tee than what we were the rest of the holes. So it's just like that kind of stuff. So I would say a
Do you
good happy
remember
medium.
which hole it is with the 2 trees right in the middle of the fairway?
When you put it through them when we were playing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
If
when
you were with, were you with Chase and I was with Cully?
uh-huh.
And yeah, and you put it right through the middle of them.
Yeah.
Right in the
So
upright.
that's hole number Cullen will never ever he probably wouldn't even be able to tell you that that hole is on Diamond Springs, but that hole number 11 with the what we call center line trees, basically just right smack dab in the middle of the fairway. And your goal is to hit just past them so that you can get around them on your next shot. And I hit it right behind them and had to basically hit this punch iron right through the base of them through.
I'm pretty sure that was when you were doing your golf shot a day
Yeah.
videos, and then because you had that set up for that shot, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I miss that.
Yeah.
I miss that a
Yeah,
lot.
we'll have to bring it. We'll have to bring it back. We'll start
We
it back
should
up in the
definitely
summer once we can get back
If you
outside.
start doing it, Jay, I'll do it. I'll do it with you.
I'll do a
All
putt
right.
a day. I can do a putt a day. I can't be at a
Okay.
course every day, but that's a future
like
us topic. Fetty, I
Before
did want to ask
before we
too.
go ahead,
I did want to ask too, Fetty. Last question before we move on to outside of golf. On the going back to the statistics a little bit. Did you feel like the second round was tougher and a little bit more strenuous, or was it just flow of the golf? That's the highs and the lows of a high 20 or low 20s handicap. Asking a question as a low 20 handicap myself.
Yeah, like I went into it like obviously wanting to do the best that I could and knowing based on my skill set that it wasn't going to be perfect. But the second round definitely was harder in that aspect because I think I was the second group in the first round. And as soon as I got out of my cart, I had 1 hot dog, maybe 2,
Yeah.
and I hopped right back in the cart with Cully and we went
Joey
first
Chestnut
group
style.
and the next group. So that was definitely a little harder because you're getting tired, you're hungry, that kind of stuff. But I just think it was just the quickness of everything. I wasn't expecting it to be what it was. And obviously, like, it's gonna happen, and I've never experienced that before, so I kinda gotta be able to adjust to that, but I just think
Well,
at that point, I wasn't ready for it.
for sure, and it wasn't supposed to be like that, right? So that even adds on to that even more because we're going to the parking lot expecting to be able to hang out there for 35 45 minutes, even the last group coming in, even if one of those guys gets put out in the first group of the next round, they should have like 40 minutes between to sit and hang out and kind of catch your breath and get some sustenance. And instead what Fetty's describing is literally pulling the cart up and starting to walk to the parking lot and having somebody literally hand him 2 hot dogs and be like, hey, shove these down your gullet because you're on the tee. Like you have to go up to number 10 right now because this guy is making us tee off, an hour and 15 minutes early.
A quick verbal meme before we jump into hockey here. When Fetty said he had to throw a hot dog down his throat real quick to move on to the next screen. Many of you know I call him Fishy more often than Fetty, and in reference to his Fortnite name. And immediately thought of the meme where the fish is eating.
Oh.
Hey, that's fine, that's fine, but just remember, I did not make that sound when I ate that hot dog, so.
No, it was just funny. It was just funny. That was the first thing I thought of. All right, Carter, kick us a hockey.
I have two quick questions. First one is, Fetty, how many golf balls did you find at Diamond Springs?
Oh, I want to say it was. Well, I know it was 40s for sure. I want to say it was about 46.
I nearly threw my back out unloading the truck when we got back to the Airbnb because I went to pick his bag up and like, okay, like you find some golf balls, like you fill up the ball pocket in the back, like that's fine. You fill up the side pocket, the little one, that's all right. That's a lot. He filled up the full length, like rain jacket. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I had to use two hands and get low to lift his bag up. It was absurd. I'm glad because he's saving some money.
It's an unseen consequence of having the truck and being one of the drivers. Being part of that unloading process can be hazardous. You know, we could see it when Carter pulled the bag out. I remember watching him like pull everybody else's bag out, kind of, one hand pull and kind of drop off for the guy to grab and take into the garage. And you could see him trying to pull it out with one hand and not physically be able to budget with one hand to pull it out of the back of the truck. That's how many golf balls were up in there.
And then,
I
and then,
definitely found more than I lost. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, he was net positive for sure.
that doesn't show up on the scorecard, but damn, if he's on the conductors this year, it should.
Oh, scavenger pin. I got to wear it around on my polo.
And then my last question before we move on to your hockey career, does the name Bryce T mean anything to you?
I can't say that I can recall.
All right, moving on.
He pleads the
Moving
fifth.
on. Moving on. Jay, take us into our, or no, we'll get it. We'll get there.
Yeah, but we're gonna
into the
let's
next
talk a
portion.
little bit about your hockey career, Fetty, because as the the resident professional, the only other professional athlete on this podcast here. We got, we obviously have a college athlete. We've got a professional in business on one side of your screen. Myself, a professional golfer, and then Fetty, of course, a professional hockey player. Let's get into your career a little bit. Can you tell us your favorite stop? Kyle kind of told us about all the places you've been since you left Utica, but do you have a favorite stop so far?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the places I've
Hand in
been.
glove?
I was thinking about saying hand in glove, but because each spot has its own specialness to it. Where when I was living in Alaska, I was always telling people where I lived was a place to visit, not a place to live. But where
Sure.
I was in Kenai River, it was gorgeous there. You had the mountains, you had the river, and all that kind of stuff. And I liked being there, but obviously 20 hours of darkness in the winter, it gets tough on you.
Yeah.
And then I go to Texas directly after that, and it's 70, 80 degrees, and you don't have much grass at all. So it's a different aspect and everything. But I would say I really liked Ferris a lot. I loved being in Michigan, and with the group of guys we had, it was a big thing for me. And being able to go to Kalamazoo after Utica, it was nice kind of having that same feeling of being back in Michigan, not that far away from that spot. But I would say one of my favorite places I've lived for sure would be Texas, because I had a lot of fun there playing. I really like my coaching staff. I really like my billets and the guys there. And obviously, you guys have played with Heinze quite a few times on Xbox, and he was.
Xbox team?
I think it's Little Buck McNuts.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah. But no, he became a really close friend of mine, and he kind of made that trip and that change for me from Alaska to Texas a lot easier. So I would say Odessa is one of my favorite places.
How about as far as like guys on the teams go? You have a favorite maybe it wasn't your favorite place to live, but the best group of guys that you spent time with? And you don't have to answer, but is there a, a place that you loved to live but never really quite meshed with the guys?
Yeah, I feel like even with teams just growing up, there's always going to be guys that you liked and you didn't like, and that's fine. But I would say even with the team that I was closest with, like my freshman class, I that's never going to change for me. Those are my brothers till I die. So it's just
Mhm.
that was my favorite group when I was playing hockey, and that's never going to change for me. Like I'm always going to stay in contact with those guys and everything. And yeah, there's also guys that were outside of my class that I was big fans with, and then there's guys weren't that didn't agree with me or them that much. So, and that's fine. That's how it's going to be. That's with every team. That's kind of like where it is on teams when you move to a different team or when you're growing up and everything. But I would say my closest group for sure would definitely be that, especially that first year. I really enjoyed that first year. I kind of brought me out of my shell a little bit more and kind of actually just had fun and was able to just enjoy being there with everyone.
It was a
Yeah.
young it was a young team in general, and so that it's a big it's not just, that you're with that freshman class, but that freshman class was a big chunk of the entire team, and a big part of the success of that team in that first year. We know that Ferris went on to struggle a little bit more as you guys were there longer and longer, but in that first year, that freshman group played a huge role in the success of the team. And a lot of guys had a lot of minutes, and it was a lot. It was a lot from the outside looking in. That freshman class was kind of a big deal on the ice as well. So I can see how that would really translate and be a big, developmental moment for all of you guys.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in and touch on it too. Like our group of 10, I don't know if you're gonna find another class in college. It's hard enough to get a full class to go 4 straight years and everyone make it to senior night. But to have a group of 10, 3 transferred, one just left the team to kind of get out of hockey, and now 5 years later, like we all 10 of us are still in the group chat. No one ever left. Like it didn't matter. Like everyone just still like shoots the shit and gets fired. I mean, we probably get texts in that more than once a week. Our group is going off.
It's
Um,
typically at like Friday at 2 a.m., but it's still going off.
yeah, that's usually when it's a Hey Kate or a Hey Willits or something like that. Um, and before I ask you the next question here, Fetty, I'll just kind of give a little sneak peek of it. Is our freshman year we made a trip up to Alaska, um, and we were at Fairbanks, and during my first college win, um, or my first start or my first win starting, there's a picture and there's 6 freshmen on the ice, and me and Willits and Evan now playing D, and then Ron's, who was a D, playing forward because we had injuries. Finner, Finner playing forward because of injuries, and then Branchow laying on the ice out there too. Like 6 freshmen basically playing like big boy minutes in a college hockey game, like in a tight game. It's just thinking about those memories for me is really special. So next question on the docket, Con, is what's your favorite hockey memory so far?
My favorite hockey memory. I feel like we've
Us
had
breaking
so
your bed
many
before you left Oakwood?
that I can never forget that. Are you kidding me? That was B-Mix bed frame too, that he
Poor guy.
generously
Poor
gave
guy.
to me and was absolutely snapped in the middle of a party. Not for reasons that the viewers are probably
Nice.
thinking,
Nice.
but no, I'd have to go back to, I want to say I think I was 10, and it was the Silver Six National Championship for us to go to Sarnia. And it was a tournament that my dad coached but didn't win. And he was there that year with us because he used to coach prior to me and everything. And he was in the penalty box, and it was a championship game, and we go down 3-0. And because that was when parents were like in the penalty box to help out and volunteer and everything. And I remember sitting on the bench, young kid. I was super, super upset. Pretty sure I might have been crying on the bench. I don't know, but that's what we all were doing at that point. You're losing 3-0 in the championship game with 4 minutes left. It's your morale is kind of down. And we pop one in. We're like, okay. We pop 2 in, and then we tie it up. And then there's 48 seconds left on the clock, and I go out for my change, and I pick off a pass at the far blue line, and I was able to skate it up the middle to the near blue line, and I shoot it from the blue line to on net, and I think their goalie was screened by the D in front of me, and it ended up going high glove with 43 seconds left, and we ended up winning that game 4-3 after a 4-minute comeback at the end.
Wow.
And I will never forget being able to skate to the penalty box. My dad opened the door, and I was celebrating with him when everybody was celebrating, because I knew how much that meant to him and I together.
That is a great story and an even better segment into the next question. I heard that you came off the ice one day and told your dad, quote, to go fuck himself. Add some color to that commentary.
So this was actually a couple years prior, and we were playing in Wheeling, where the Nailers play, and I lined up. I was playing D, and a guy beat me wide and scored. And we line up for the next face-off. I lined up too close to the centerman, being a defenseman. They beat me wide again and scored, and I got back to the bench. And my dad grabs me, and he goes, "You owe me 2 goals." And I go out for the next period, and I ended up scoring my first ever hat trick. And I get back to the bench, and I slam the door, and I looked at him. I go, "You fucking happy now? I got you 3." And I sat down, and I didn't say a word the rest of the game. And my dad always tells the story. He loves it. He laughs. He has a couple friends that were from Wheeling that he went out to eat with after, because I went home with my mom, and they're like, "God, your kid's really good. He scored 3 goals." And my dad's like, "No, he just really hates his father." But it was like, our assistant coach, he looked at my dad after I said that. He goes, "God, your kid hates you." And my dad's like, he goes, "He'll get over it." But yeah, I didn't say it directly, but if you really think about it, I essentially did. But I just thought it's just a funny story him and I have, and he loves telling it to people too. That's for sure.
One thing people don't know if you don't play Fortnite with Fishy is every time that Fishy gets on Xbox, his dad will call and want to chat for a bit. So The first game or two with Fetty, when you're warming up, you're playing in silence really, because they're chatting it up. So Fetty, appreciate you so much being on the pod. Such a fun player profile, and obviously, one of my best buds on this trip. So appreciate you being on and telling us a little bit of your story. We do have a new sponsor to the program. Justin, why don't you kick off into introducing the new sponsor here?
Before I get into the ad read, do we want to talk about maybe why this segment has a new sponsor? Because our previous sponsor was we thought that we had a great partnership going with them for sure. A place that we love to go to. We're still going to continue to spend time at, of course. We're not going to change our entire our entire Sunday or Monday itinerary to, because of this. But Kyle, can you tell us a little bit about what the care package that we received from our previous sponsor?
Yeah, so to go back a little bit, was bored at work one day. Boss, hope you're not listening, but was bored at work one day, decided to email founders and was like, "Hey, we do this golf trip every year. It's 13 guys. We go to founders religiously every trip. We've really made founders a part of this annual trip that we go on. Any chance you guys can sponsor some T-shirts or some glassware, something like that." Sent it out. Didn't think much of it. Didn't tell anybody I did it. Got an email back like a week later while I'm on Fortnite with Justin. I'm like, "Dude, Like, we got them. And they basically responded. They're like, yeah, how many people? What's the address? We'll put you on the list, essentially. Like, sweet. So sent
Which
13
is
people.
important before you get to it. They asked how many people are on the trip.
Mhm.
Kind of what is the trip? What do you do? And so we told them, or Kyle told them, there's 12 guys. This is, a trip that we're going to be doing every summer. We're going to be coming to, obviously, to the tap room there in Grand Rapids, and we're going to be spending some time there and spending some money there. And, obviously this is a large group of people that we're going to be coming every year. Right.
Yeah. So give them that info. They asked for my address, like my mailing address. So I send that over to them. Again, talking to Justin, he's like, yeah, we're probably going to get put on a list. Like, nothing much is going to happen here. If they reach out, sweet. If they don't, cool. I get a box one night. Actually, we were just about to film the pod with, I think it was Dan.
Mm-hmm. Couple weeks ago now.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. I get a box. It says it's from Founders Brewing. Get off camera real quick. I'm like, no way. Like, this is going to be sick. It's a bag of teas with Founders logos, one sleeve of golf balls, so 3 golf balls with the Founders logo, and a Founders sticker.
One sticker.
A single sticker, not 13 stickers.
How many teas approximately?
I don't know, 30. Bad at math, but 30.
Barely enough, probably for 2 to 3 per person on the trip.
Yeah, oh yeah, not even.
Just completely fucking embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like,
so me, Carter, Justin contemplated how we wanted to go about the founder sponsorship going forward, and we just opted to part ways on the sponsorship. We will still attend the tap room as they give us delicious beers and some good foods. And we'll give away the teas and a sleeve of golf balls for one of the prize winners. But yeah, figured we'd inform you guys as to why Founders is no longer a sponsor on the pod.
Yeah, we can't be giving away all this phenomenal ad time for them for 3 golf balls and not even 3 teas per person. That's just,
not to mention, it was a
we
great
asked them to
segment.
show the love, and they just
right. Continually, using company lines, trying to align ourselves with their company vision and values and that sort of stuff. And, what do we get in return? One sleeve of cheap TaylorMades. No offense to anybody that likes TaylorMades. These TaylorMades suck. It's terrible. Absolutely devastating. And we've been spending 10, 15, 45 minutes per episode on talking about Founders. And now look at us. Now we're talking about them again.
Jay, move on to the sponsorship that matters. The one that is our prized
this
possession.
one now.
Here.
These guys are. This is a group here that we're about to introduce that takes care of the fellas.
They do. Well,
Whether
I don't know if they know it.
They don't.
Whether they
might
like it or not.
Shout out to their company representative who is a part of this trip. But our new segment is the Embrace Debate segment, sponsored by Alliance Beverage. Like I said, I don't know if they even know that they sponsor this trip. I don't know if Dan's supervisor knows that they're a sponsor of this trip. I don't know if they know about all the sunglasses and the koozies and stuff that we've been getting as part of this, but Alliance Beverage has been taking care of us. They're a local beer distributor here in Traverse City. Alliance exists to help fulfill and enhance the quality of lives of their associates, customers, suppliers, and community. Alliance is here to embrace debate. They want to talk about the things that we want to talk about, and most importantly, they want to help us stay hydrated on this trip. So this segment here is sponsored by Alliance Beverage.
Shout out Alliance. Shout out Dan Hendo. Was watching Bob Does Sports in the shower, and I this Embrace Debate question came about.
Somebody call that.
Also shout out Grange in the back. Absolutely just going to town.
That's been
blur that
the whole time if you really watch it.
You had her leg behind her head.
So,
Jeez.
anyways, they're doing a 2v1 scramble. If you're familiar with Bob Does Sports, it's Joey Cold
I watched
Cuts,
this video today, I think.
Bobby Fairways versus Fat Perez. Fat Perez is a killer, and the other two are kind of like just fun, good chemistry guys. Was thinking about it, especially in lieu of today's Fetty episode. Me and Fetty in a scramble versus Justin. What needs to happen for either side to win, whether it be dots, whether it be strokes, whether it be Justin to have a stroke? What would need to happen?
It's gonna say Justin needs to break his leg.
Right.
Well, for the sake of equity, the dots, like I know that it's a scramble, and there's a lot of discussion. There's been a lot of discussion on the internet about scrambles and the ability to go low in a scramble. I saw a TikTok today about these 4 guys that allegedly shot a 48 in a scramble.
That's not bad.
You know, they beat a group of 3 scratch golfers and a guy that's a +2 handicap by 11 shots. So I don't know if those guys were there just pounding beers, but if you got that many good golfers and you're only shooting a 59, then that's maybe another part of the discussion that we don't need to go into. But you know, scrambles are, you can take it really deep in a scramble. The two of you guys, I don't know how deep you're taking it in a scramble.
2-man scramble isn't as easy also
No.
Yeah,
as a 4-man scramble.
right. Only two chances at it changes things a lot. You know, what do you guys think that you would shoot? Like, just for example, let's say we're playing at Diamond Springs. What do you two think that you guys could put together and shoot at Diamond Springs gross in a scramble?
Betty, what do you think?
Have you ever played a 2-man scramble?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when I play with my little brother, he's gotten better than me now. We shoot about, I want to say, an 82. So if you think we can shoot better than that,
Is he better? Like,
Bro.
I assume you and I are under the same assumption that
I
we're
was
the
gonna say
exact same, right?
75 to 80 for you two, I think.
I was thinking 75 to 80 as well.
yeah,
I was
because
hovering,
he has a
hovering
trouble
around
putting.
80 probably.
80 on
I
a
think- I
bad
think
day,
that
I
would
think
work.
for sure. Or maybe a
Okay.
normal day, not a bad day.
What are your last what's your average score at Diamond Springs, Justin?
My average, let me see here. My scoring average at Diamond Springs is 73.25. And that includes the first year when I played at Diamond Springs as a +2. So around 72 for average gross score at Diamond Springs.
You guys are gonna have to go low.
Here's my thing.
So-
It's like throwing 10 dots on the card. I don't feel confident still.
Well,
Really?
that's what I'm. That's that gets a little bit back.
That's
a
a
little bit
lot.
back. But here's it. That's in a match though too. You got to remember, like
In match
that-
play?
Yeah, I think that they may need more dots. They probably need more dots in stroke play just because there's going to be some holes where they get, you know, you might make a 6, the two of you, in a scramble on a hole where I
Likely.
make a 3.
Very likely.
Right. You only lose one. You only lose one hole in a match where you would be 3 strokes behind. I think that you guys are going to need probably 5 aside to make the match equitable. I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Is 5 aside, 10 total strokes in a match? Does that make it equitable?
I think that no matter what you gave us, again, we're not going to beat you because you get paid to do this. But and also
To be
the
fair,
comments you
to be
made.
fair, I don't get
fair.
paid to play. I don't get paid to play that often. All right. Sometimes I do, but primarily my salary is tied up in sitting behind the computer. Primarily it deals with folding sweaters.
Folding sweaters.
But we can
Special
also
players.
we can also circle back on the quote that you've made that there's no one here with enough dots to beat me,
Yeah,
and
it's
you're
a
putting
legend.
two guys together. So I don't know. I feel like
He says
even
these things. I was carrying his bag. He made a 6 on a par 3, and 5 hits were with his putter.
Come on. Hey. The heads were rolling a little bit. We got the
Jay's
we
not
were
looking
running,
across the tee box at us, sweating
we were
about
running
that.
downhill.
Yeah, that's just not the reality. Teeing up
I
there.
got my own. I got my own thing with that in his
Carter's
mentality.
right. That did happen. 11th hole, U.S. Open qualifier. I hit to the far left side of the green. The pin was tucked in the far right, and it took me 5 hits to get it in the hole. Things were getting away from me there, but I agree with what Kyle's saying. There's not quite the same level of pressure playing against those two guys as it is playing in 38 degrees and wind at Plum Hollow in a US Open qualifier. It's a little bit different.
So let me ask then. I think Fetty would agree that if we had some birdie juice at hand, we could probably do a little better.
well,
Would bringing birdie
it'd start with par juice, but yes.
people net birdie, of course. Net birdie.
Are you guys?
Would
Do you guys have the Bushnell Wingman speaker?
oh yeah.
Are you familiar
yeah.
with the song "Lucid Dreams"?
Yes.
Play it. That is over.
All right, we get lucid dreams and birdie juice. Does that impact Justin in a negative way? Could we play some defense out there, Fetty?
If we get him on the birdie juice, yes. I don't know if music would get in his head at all because he's very focused when it comes to the course. And I played different genres when I was playing with Tricky when him and Mac were together, and I was just playing the different genres to get Tricky and I going, and never seemed to affect his play at all.
Mm.
But I think if you do get him on the birdie juice, because he can get on that pretty quickly when it comes to hole 1, and you just start from there and see what happens.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is a birdie hole, and 5
you
depends
can
where
have
the pin is. 5 could be a birdie hole too. Yeah, we could get off and running pretty quick. It's just, whether you could convince me to get on the birdie juice would probably, is probably a different conversation to have. But I think you guys are on the right track around 10 strokes, 5 aside. Play a little bit of offense with the music for yourselves, and then see if you can play a little defense with some birdie juice. And 10 strokes and the two of you guys scrambling against each other would be formidable opponents for sure. I would feel more uncomfortable. I would start to feel uncomfortable once we got around 12 strokes. I think one of the first times I ever played Carter in a match, I gave him, I want to say I gave him 16, and he ended up beating me by 1. And I wasn't uncomfortable until I was starting to run out of holes where I felt like I could pull away. Because I think definitely the longer that match goes on, like if that's a 36 hole match, I'd give you guys almost a dot a hole. Because you're just not gonna, you just don't have the, you don't have the range, the firepower at for that long to hang, at least in my opinion. And I think I played a lot of matches against Chase, and Chase will be one of the first ones to tell you that those last few holes are the hardest when you're trying to close out a match like that. Whether it's an 18 hole match, a 36 hole match is probably not enough dots out there for you guys. But for an 18 hole match, around 12, I'd start to get uncomfortable with the number of dots, just because the number the number of holes, I'm going to start to run out of holes where I really got much advantage. And depending where those dots fall, if they fall towards the end of that match, I think everybody but Cullen will tell you that those closing holes out there can be quite a bear. Can be some difficult holes. There's some opportunities for big swings, and so I think I would start to get uncomfortable around 12 is where I'm going with this. A scramble against you guys, 12 strokes, only 18 holes, starts to get could really go either way for me.
Carter, final verdict. What would it take for a true 50-50 coin flip out of 100? How many strokes or dots?
I mean, I think he hit it right about 12. I just like you guys, like scrambling with two guys is like you make bogey like easily. Even like I played 2v2 matches here at school where we play the front as 4-ball and then we play the back as 2v2 scramble for a half point on each side, and like you can make birdie in a scramble 2v2 or with two guys, but like you can make bogey like that, and for guys, which I would say getting off the tee is not exactly your guys' strength. That's where you could get into trouble where like maybe the Fetty fades a little too much and gets in the bushes, and Kyle could top it, and Justin's going to be about 300 yards ahead, and whether you got a dot or not, you're behind the 8-ball.
My first golf swing of the year this year went about 3 feet in front of me. It was bad. It was bad. All right. Well,
Hold on. Let me maybe throw this back to the two of you. Which maybe third and or fourth guy do you add to your team to where you feel like with no strokes, what's the right combination of 3 or 4 guys to where the two of you feel comfortable in a 3 or a 4 person scramble is a coin flip with no dots?
I'll let you take this one first.
I know one right off rep.
My first how I got on this was I was thinking, well, if we add Mac in there, they got a third guy, that changes things, but does that change the number of dots that I would be comfortable with giving up? And with Mac, that number goes to like 10 probably still. And then I'm like, well, if let's add in Michael, just picking off going from the bottom up. Where is that line going from the bottom up? And it doesn't stop right there. Those 4 guys still aren't scaring me in a 4-man scramble for me to not give up any dots. So where does that line go? Do you immediately go to the top end, Kyle? Is that what you're thinking?
I now
For a third guy at no dots.
I thought we were all pretty on the same-ish page with 12. Like I think 12 would have been a slight edge to you long term. You saying that adding Flop and Mac still isn't enough makes me believe that the first question's out of pocket.
Well, when you add Flop and Mac in there, Flop and Mac starts to get closer, but I still feel like dots isn't out of the question to even things up. So I don't know. Just because of the way that your games all stack up with each other, I don't think that you're not quite covering each other at all times. Just the way that you're because Mike's a bit better off the tee and he's really good on the greens. We all know that. But I don't think that he covers up 100% of where the issues would lie, because Mac's game is so similar to the two of you that, flop doesn't cover. Flop doesn't cover any and all of the situations where you could be in trouble.
So, looking at the current handicap indexes updated as of 1/20/24 in the Kickstart Invitational document,
Mm-hmm.
just going off of the fake rule that I made in my head just now, that I'd have to be partnered with double-digit handicappers.
Okay.
Sneaky, me, fishy, obviously. Give
Not
me
so
Dan
sneaky.
and give me Dan and Preston to combo
Okay.
with us, and I'll tell you why. Dan can nuke it, and so if we can get one every 3-4 holes where he just hits it dead straight a mile long, one of
Yeah.
us three is gonna get it close enough,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just got to make a putt from there. And then Preston knows how to talk shit as good as the next guy.
He's your defensive specialist. Yeah,
100%. And he's bringing the birdie juice. So if we can get Jay on the birdie juice with us, like Preston's just playing defense out there. And between the Preston's defense, Dan's offense, and then Fishy and I just along for the ride.
underratedly
shot.
too. Preston, really solid iron player.
Yeah, oh yeah, he doesn't
Solid
miss,
NFL and
really.
iron player. Yeah, he doesn't get himself in all that much trouble.
No.
Not your weapon off the tee still, for sure. That's Dan. But sneaky good iron player when you guys are in position. Preston can be a weapon. I think that would be.
That'd be fun.
I wouldn't feel like I would have any advantage there. I'm too proud to ever ask for dots. I think that I could take you guys on, and I could probably get at least 4 out of 10 matches on you guys still with that combo. But I think that probably sways in your guys' direction a little past being a 50-50 coin flip, but that's definitely an interesting combination of guys.
Because there's out of those 10 matches, the proverbial matches that you mentioned, there's a few of those where Fetty and I just might not be there.
Sure.
It might be a 2-man scramble pretty quickly. So
I was gonna say, what would you think about us three?
I like that too.
Again,
That was my first
against
thought, was just Carter.
That's getting there.
Yeah, but we would lose a lot of dots if Carter joined too.
Yeah.
Well, in scrambling too, just straight out of the get, like, how many dots would I give Carter in a match is an interesting question too.
I think
But
I'll beat him. I really do.
the
think
three of
me?
you guys,
Three of us could beat him, or that I could beat Justin.
No, the three of us.
I think
well,
that
so I'm thinking if I give Carter,
off the tee that you guys are looking for.
Wait, Carter, say that again.
I think that I could offer that more stability off the tee that you guys are looking for. I'm not like by any means a fairway every single hit guy, but like it's gonna be in play probably 13 out of the 14 times I hit my driver.
playable for sure.
Oh, I play in anything, so just tell me where to hit it and I will. You got a green box in
If
front
he
of me.
finds it, he's hitting it.
So here's the thing. So how many strokes do I give Carter in a match? If I give Carter 3 aside, and I think about it, how much are you guys going to contribute to that to make that, even if you played his ball all the time? I think you guys are going to contribute at least 6 strokes just straight up on the greens. Like, I think
Kyle's 7-iron is going to be buzzing.
That's true. That
Around
is
the
true.
green.
Well, how much are you guys going to have to chip in a scramble is something you got to consider too.
That's true too.
Probably still a decent amount. Like, depending on how well you drive it, how often are you going to have a chance to hit on the green? Probably almost every hole, if not every hole. You should have an opportunity to hit the second shot on the green. So, yeah, that's probably once you start thinking about the greens is where you guys can make up a lot of strokes in a scramble is actually on the green. Right. Now, that's not to say that you're going to make every 20-footer, but having 2 looks at the exact putt and then your third guy putting is a big deal for sure.
I think next time we're all local to wherever, we got to try it because that would be fun.
That would be a serious match.
Oh,
That
so you're
would
saying
be-
the Thursday
I've
after
thought
the
about it.
Kickstart?
I've thought about it the last 2 years, and I think it's like me and Justin might be some of the only guys that haven't played together at the Kickstart.
I haven't played with a lot of guys, but
Well, yeah, but we were both new last year because I
From
haven't
like the
either.
original guys. Obviously, you guys, the first year. I mean, Kyle, you didn't play with Dan, did you?
like before the tournament,
No. Well, yeah, or
No.
in it.
I know with Dan.
He played with them
Yeah.
He played with them every round.
Oh, you didn't play with Justin?
No,
No,
you, Justin, Mac, Esser.
it was Carter and Mac. It was Kyle and Dan, and it was me and Chase for all 3 team matches.
Yeah, and then I played with Dan, and you played with Chase, right, Kyle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, if it were to go in a way that me and Justin got, if I get Justin again in this year's draft, there might have to just be a round where I put him with me, because I haven't
Wow.
really like played with him in a long time.
If only we
And-
knew a guy that had control over who fucking went first
That's
overall.
You are literally the only person that can decide that. You are the captain. You have the first pick, and you can make the matchups. There's no
That's what
what
I'm
if. It's
saying.
if you
That's what I'm
want.
And
saying.
if you
Okay, hopefully-
don't draft me first overall, I'm going on Chase's team and we're going to play every match against each other.
Yeah, I mean, you see what I'm dealing
So
with?
you're going to get to play with me.
I also think that out of the 13 guys, or I would say the 12 guys in the Kickstart that could take him down, I think that I could do it.
Okay, tough guy.
All right, that is.
I'm just saying.
Shout out to Alliance Beverage. Thank you for the sponsor that you don't know that you're giving. Absolute blast to have you guys on. Betty, thank you again for joining us. Any last words before we kick this off and send it to YouTube?
No, I'm just excited for when June comes. It's a couple months away. Weather's getting warmer. It's feeling more like golf season every day, so I can't wait.
Absolutely. Fetty, Justin, Carter, appreciate you all. Love you guys. We'll chat soon on Fortnite.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Fetty, you're looking great. Play well this weekend. We'll talk to you
Thank
guys
you.
soon.
Yeah, I'll see you
Thank you.
soon. Ask your coach if he needs a goalie.
All right, I will do.
All right,
see you
I'll have
guys.
my phone on me.
Reunion. See you guys.